Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at Calisto and Melebea, printed by John Rastell, though we don't necessarily know who wrote it, considering the time it was written, around 1525-ish, so that's around when it was printed. It may have been produced a little earlier. It may have been performed in Finsbury Fields, which was John Rastell's own little private theatre that he built, and may indeed have had paying public coming to see it, and may therefore be counted as one of the first English playhouses. There is some debate on that point. But it certainly was a space for which Rastell's interest in printing plays as well as producing plays sort of overlapped. And so today we're doing one of the plays that came out of his printing house, a new comedy in English in manner of an interlude, right elegant and full of craft of rhetoric, wherein is showed and described as well the beauty and good properties of women, as their vices and evil conditions, with a moral conclusion and exhortation to virtue. So that's all to be looking forward to. To guide us through this particular text, we have a crack team of readers, past and present, for the group, who are going to read these parts with great aplomb, I am sure. So, reading today the part of Sempronio is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaffe. I'm a academic specialising in early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
And reading the part of Parmeno is...
Liza, actor, singer, and Renaissance text coach to actors in London.
And reading the part of Celestina is...
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm from Berkshire. I'm looking forward to a meaty role.
And reading the part of Melebea, we shall decide, is...
I'm Alex Scott Fairley, and I'm an actor from the Highlands of Scotland.
And reading the part of Calisto today is...
Hello, my name's Simon Nader, and I'm an actor, writer and director based in Hertfordshire.
And new to the group, reading the part of Danio is...
Nuno Meireles. I'm a Portuguese PhD candidate in literary theory, and I'm focusing on an author that is from this age, the Gil Vicente, the first strongest Portuguese playwright. And so I'm very interested in this kind of writings. Thank you for having me in.
Excellent. And I am your host, Robert Crighton, who will be aiming to read the very, very few stage directions that appear, some of them inferred, some of them original. But without further ado, we will begin with Melebea, who opens the play in this fashion.
Franciscus Petrarchus, the poet laureate, says that nature, which is mother of all things, without strife can give life to nothing create. And Heraclitus, the wise clerk in his writing, saith, in all things create, strife is their working, and there is nothing under the firmament with any other in all points equivalent. And, according to their diets, rehearsed as thus, all things are create in manner of strife. These foolish lovers, then, that be so amorous, from pleasure to displeasure, how lead they their life? Now sorry, now sad, now joyous, now pensive. Alas, I, poor maiden, then what shall I do? Cumbered by dotage of one Calisto. I know that nature hath given me beauty, with sanguineous complexion, favour and fairness. The more to God ought I to do fealty, with will, life, land, and love of perfectness. I deny not but Calisto is of great worthiness. But what of that? For all his high estate, his desire I defy, and utterly shall hate. Oh, his sayings and suits so importune, that of my life he maketh me almost weary. Oh, his lamentations and exclamations on fortune, with similitude of manner as one that should die. But who shall pity this? In faith, not I. Shall I accomplish his carnal desire? Nay, yet at a stake rather bren in a fire. Of truth I am sorry for his trouble, to strive with himself thus for love of me. But though his sorrows, I assure you, should double, out of his danger will I be at liberty. Nay, nay, he shall never that day see his voluptuous appetite consented by me. Wist he now that I were present here, I assure you shortly he would seek me, and without doubt he does now inquire whither I am gone or where I should be.
And enter at some point here Callisto.
See, is he not now come? I repent me. Alas, of this man I can never be rid. Would to Christ I wist where I might be hid.
By you, fair Melebea, may be seen the grace, the gifts, the greatness of God.
Wherein?
In taking effect of Dame Nature's stream, nor earthly, but angelic of likelihood, in beauty surpassing the kind of womanhood. Oh God, I might in your presence be able to manifest my dolours incomparable. Greater were that reward than the grace heaven to obtain by works of pity. Not so glorious by the saints that see God's face, ne joy not so much as I do you to see. Yet difference there is between them and me, for they glorify by his assured presence, and I in torment because of your absence.
Why, thinkest thou that so great a reward?
Yea, more greater than if God would set me in heaven above all saints, and more in regard, and think it a more higher felicity.
Yet more greater thy reward shall be, if thou flee from the determination of thy consent of mind by such temptation. I perceive the extent of thy words all, as of the wit of him that would have the virtue of me, such a woman to become thrall. Go thy way with sorrow. I would thou knew I have foul scorn of thee, I tell thee true, or of any human creature with me should begin any communication pertaining to sin. And I promise thee, where thou art present, while I live, by my will I will be absent.
And exit Melebea.
Lo, out of all joy I am fallen in woe, upon whom adverse fortune hath cast her chance of cruel hate, which causeth now away to go the keeper of my joy and all my pleasance. Alas, alas, now to me what annoyance.
And the annoyance is the entrance of Sempronio.
Your guard, my lord. God be in this place.
Sempronio?
Yea, sir.
Ah, sir, I see thy face. Why hast thou been from me so long absent?
For I've been about your business, to order such things as were convenient. Your house and horse and all things was to dress.
Oh, Sempronio, have pity on my distress, for of all creatures I am the woefulest.
Oh, how so? What is the cause of your unrest?
For I serve in love to the goodliest thing that is or ever was.
What is she?
It is one which is all other exceeding, the picture of angels, if thou see her. Phoebus or Phoebe no comparison may be to her.
What height she?
Melebea is her name.
Marry, sir, this would make a wild horse tame.
I pray thee, Sempronio, go fetch me my lute, and bring some chair or stool with thee. The arguments of love that I may dispute, which science I find thou art without pity. Hie thee, Sempronio, hie thee, I pray thee.
Sir, shortly, I assure you, it shall be done.
And exit Sempronio.
Then farewell. Christ send thee again soon. Oh, what fortune is equal unto mine. Oh, what woeful wight with me may compare. The thirst of sorrow is my mixed wine, which daily I drink with deep draughts of care.
Re-enter Sempronio.
Tush, sir, be merry. Let pass away the mare. How say you? Have I not hired me lightly? Here is your chair and lute to make you merry.
Merry, quotha? Nay, that will not be. But I must needs sit for very feebleness. Give me my lute, and thou shalt see how I shall sing mine unhappiness. This lute is out of tune now, as I guess. Alas, in tune how should I set it, when all harmony to me discordeth each whit, as he to whose will reason is unruly? For I feel sharp needles within my breast. Peace, war, truth, hatred and injury, hope and suspect, and all in one chest.
Behold, Nero in the love of Poppaea oppressed, Rome how he brent, old and young wept, but she took no thought, nor nevertheless slept.
Greater is my fire, and less pity showed me.
I will not mock this fool as a lover.
What sayest thou?
I say, how that can that fire be that tormenteth but one living man, greater than that fire which brenneth a whole city here, and all the people therein?
Marry, for that fire is greatest, that brenneth very sore and lasteth longest. And greater is the fire that brenneth one soul than that which brenneth 100 bodies.
You're saying in this none can control.
None but such as list to make lies. And if the fire of purgatory brenn in such wise, I had liever my spirit in brute beast should be than to go thither, than to go thither, and then to the deity.
Oh, marry, sir, that is a spice of heresy.
Why so?
Oh, for you speak like no Christian man.
I would thou knewest Melebea worship I. In her I believe, and her I love.
Then. With thee, Melebea is a great woman. I know on which foot thou dost halt on. I shall shortly heal thee, my life thereupon.
An incredible thing thou dost promise me.
Yeah, it's easy enough to do. But first, for to heal a man, knowledge must be of the sickness, then to give counsel thereto.
What counsel can rule him, Sempronio, that keepeth in him no order of counsel?
This is Calisto, his fire now I know well. How that love over him hath cast her net, in whose perseverance is all inconstancy.
Why, is not Eliseus love and thine met?
What then?
Why, reprovest me then of ignorance?
For thou settest man's dignity in obeisance to the imperfection of the weak woman.
A woman? Nay, a god of goddesses.
Believest that then?
Yea, and as a goddess I here confess, and I believe there is no such sovereign in heaven, though she be on earth.
Peace, peace. A woman a god? Nay, to God, a villain. Of your saying, you may be sorry.
It is plain.
Oh, why so?
Because I love her, and think surely to obtain my desire, I am unworthy.
Oh, fearful heart. Why comparest thou with Nimrod or Alexander? Of this world not lords only, but worthy to subdue heaven, as the saying goeth. Thou reputest thyself more high than them both, and despairest so cowardly to win a woman, of whom hath been so many gotten and ungotten, never heard of any. It is recited in the feast of St. John. This is the woman of ancient malice, of whom but of a woman was it sung on, that Adam was expulsed from paradise, for she put man to pain, whom Eli did despise.
Then, sith Adam gave him to their governance, am I greater than Adam myself to advance?
Nay, but of those men it were wisdom that overcame them to seek remedy, and not of those that they did overcome. Flee from their beginnings, eschew their folly. Thou knowest they do evil things many. They keep no mean, but rigour of intention, be it fair or foul, wilful, without reason. Keep them never so close, they will be showed. Give tokens of love by many subtle ways, seem to be sheep, and serpently shrewd, craft in them, renewing, that never decays, their sayings and sightings provoking their plays. Oh, what pain is to fulfill their appetites and to accomplish their wanton delights. The wonder to see their dissembling, their flattering countenance, their ingratitude, inconstancy, false witness, feigned weeping, their vain glory, and how they can delude, their foolishness, their jangling, not mewed, their lecherous lust, and vileness therefore, witchcrafts, charms to make men to their law, their embalming, and their unshamefacedness, their bawdry, their subtlety, and fresh attiring. What trimming, what painting to make fairness their false, intense and flickering smiling. Therefore, lo, it is an old saying that women be the devil's nets and head of sin, and man's misery in paradise did begin.
But what thinkest thou by me yet for all this?
Marry, sir, ye were a man of clear wit, whom nature hath endued with the best gifts, as beauty and greatness of members, perfect, strength, lightness, and beyond this, each wit fortune hath parted with you of her influence for to be able of liberal expense. For without goods, where a fortune is lady, no man can have wealth. Therefore, by conjecture, you should be beloved of everybody.
But not of Melebea now, I am sure. And though thou hast praised me without measure and compared me without comparison, yet she is above in every condition. Behold her nobleness, her ancient lineage, her great patrimony, her excellent wit, her resplendent virtue, her portly courage, her godly grace, her sovereign beauty, perfect. No tongue is able well to express it, but yet, I pray thee, let me speak a while, myself to refresh in rehearsing of my style. I begin at her hair, which is so goodly, crisped to her heels, tied with fine lace, far shining beyond fine gold of Araby. I trow the sun colour to it may give place, that who to behold it might have the grace, would say in comparison, nothing countervails.
And is it not like hair of ass tails?
Oh, what foul comparison! This fellow rails. Her gay, glassing eyes, so fair and bright, her brows, her nose, in a mean no fashion fails, her mouth proper, and feet, her teeth small and white, her lips ruddy, her body straight upright, her little teeth to the eye as a pleasure. Oh, what a joy it is to see such a figure. Her skin of whiteness endarketh the snow with rose-coloured inude. I thee ensue her little hands in mean manner. This snow trow, her fingers small and long, with nails ruddy, most pure of proportion, none such in portraiture. Without peer, worthy to have for fairness, the apple that Paris gave Venus the goddess.
Sir, have you all done?
Yea. Marry, what then?
I put case, all this ye have said be true. Ye are more noble, since ye be a man.
Wherein?
She is imperfect, or would ye knew, as all women be, and of less value. Philosophers say the matter is less worthy than the form, so is woman to man, surely.
I love not to hear this altercation between Melebea and me, her lover.
Possible it is in every condition to abhor her as much as you do love her, in the woman beguiling is the danger, that you shall see hereafter with eyes free.
With what eyes?
With clear eyes, trust me.
Why, with what eyes do I see now?
With dim eyes, which show a little thing much. But for ye shall not despair, I assure you, no labour and diligence in me shall grudge, so trusty and friendly you shall find me such in all things possible that ye can acquire the thing to accomplish to your desire.
God bring that to pass. So glad it is to me to hear thee thus, though I hope not in thy doings.
Yea, I shall do it, trust me, for a surety.
God reward thee for thy gentle intending. I give thee this chain of gold in rewarding.
Sir, God reward you, and send us good speed. I doubt not but I shall perform it indeed. Without rewards it is hard to work well.
I am content, so thou be not negligent.
Be not you, for it passeth a marvel, the master slow, the servant to be diligent.
How thinkest it can be? Show me thine intent.
Sir, I have a neighbour, a mother of bawdry, that can provoke hard rocks to lechery. In all evil deeds she is perfect wise. I trow more than 1,000 virgins have been destroyed by her subtle devices, for she never faileth where she begins. Alone by this craft her living she wins. Maids, wives, widows, every one, if she wants meddle, there escapeth none.
How might I speak with her, Sempronio?
I shall bring her hither unto this place. Ye must in any wise let rewards go, and show ye griefs in every case.
Else were I not worthy to attain grace. But alas, Sempronio, thou tarriest too long.
Mr. God be with you.
Christ, make thee strong!
Exit Sempronio.
The mighty and perdurable God be his guide, as he guided the 3 kings into Bedlam from the east by the star, and again did provide as their conduct to return to their own realm. So speed my Sempronio to quench the gleam of this fire, which my heart doth waste and spend, and that I may come to my desired end. To pass the time now will I walk up and down within mine orchard, and to myself go commune and talk, and pray that fortune to me be not hard, longing to hear, whether made or marred, my message shall return by my servant Sempronio. Thus, farewell, my lords. For a while I will go.
And we'll pause there as exit Callisto. We're about to have another entrance in a moment, but we're a third of the way through the text. I'm recognizing elements of this story in earlier texts. It is, we should note, a literary adaptation of a book, but this is a story I'm very familiar with so far from other hands. So this is fascinating to me. It's there's lots of fun stuff in this. I'm really enjoying Sempronio's just the "have ye all done." It's a perfect setup for that gag. Thoughts from the room about the first third? Leap in, someone.
Can we talk about the misogyny?
Yes. I was going to say, considering that this session was originally going to be all male, I'm quite glad that we have an additional witness in the room. Where to start? Where do we end? It's not even where do we start. Where do we end?
Yeah, it's hard to estimate. Stephen, you might, as a scholar, you might have ideas about how far Sempronio is in line with the average thought in his time, and how much additional misogyny there might be in this play. You know, is he the women were thought to be imperfect copies of men. In fact, there were a bunch of things. If your wife got pregnant, there were a bunch of things that she mustn't eat and mustn't do in order to not bear a female child. So, and it's a society at this point that takes the Bible, pretty literally. They think that the woman is the weaker vessel, that she's where original sin comes from. There is some pushback against this. Amelia Lanier writes a long poem defending Eve from accusations of being the downfall of mankind, and pointing out that, the argument which has been made many times since, who made Jesus? God and a woman, not a man. But there's, it's a very misogynistic age at this point, and this both exposes it and perhaps exposes some additional elements of that thought on the author's part.
Yeah, we can see rhetoric being deployed as well, can't we? So this is being put to work, these ideas. Sempronio is not just kind of voicing them; he's using them, isn't he? He's got an end in mind, perhaps. And the flip side of that is the sort of critique of courtly love, where you've got this sort of this young gent who's wandering around with his head in the clouds, saying, this is the most heavenly angel figure. And so the part of part of what Sempronio is doing is puncturing that by using these misogynistic tropes. So there's sort of layers upon layers in there, I think. There's a sort of dramatic layer as well as a thought of the time layer.
Yeah.
There's also the thing that this is using an initial thing of he quite likes a lady. Why does she not like me? You know, the plot element to actually introduce a debate element to what's going on here. We've got people combating with different viewpoints, and there is a question of where does the play now go? Does it put forward counter viewpoints? And, you know, that's the question is, you know, the characters may be misogynistic. Is the play itself setting these up as straw men to be broken down? Knowing what comes out of the press of Rastell, I'm not thinking it's going to necessarily go that far along those lines, but we don't know yet. We don't know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
Stephen first, then Simon.
Well, we say people, but it's actually men, isn't it?
Yes.
And well, I mean, pretty much as soon as women actually get printing stuff, you know, they are answering this back. You know, in one way or another. I mean, very often early on, it's through kind of discourses of martyrdom and sainthood and holiness. But as soon as women get into print, you know, so it is men saying it. And if we can extrapolate back a little bit into this era, then we might expect if a woman turns up that things will change. And so, sort of dramatically, there's perhaps that on the way.
Simon, sorry, Simon.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to pick up on the most interesting thing to me was obviously, yes, we're looking for the rampant misogynism that will be through, but the reference to Poppaea, who, if you don't know, Poppaea, Sabina, and Nero, was fascinating to me because if you know what actually happened to her, she was basically kicked to death by Nero whilst pregnant with his child. And I thought it was a very interesting reference to drop in when one is talking about love, and I'm not sure that would have been in there. Had this perhaps been written by a woman, or if more research was done. But yeah, that's the thing that really stepped up for me, because whenever I hear Poppaea, you just think, so it doesn't maybe augur very well.
Is there does Robert or you know, does anyone know, are there any dramas of the time that have Poppaea and Nero in them? Because, you know,
Not yet.
What tends to be dramatized, certainly what gets dramatized in about the 1600s, Monteverdi's L'Incoronazione di Poppaea, is the beginning of their story, where Poppaea seduces Nero away from his Empress Octavia. So perhaps that has more to do with how Poppaea was seen rather than her unfortunate end.
Yeah, and also, but he was very well known, wasn't he, for his mourning afterwards, for, you know, dressing up people in the image. But of course, the thing that's glossed over, which of course is perfect to a male writer who's trying to gloss over equality, obviously, which wouldn't be a thing then, is to not mention the death, don't mention the war. But yes, he was a great lover nonetheless, even if he killed her.
Nuno.
About the misogyny, and again, it's interesting, a parallel that seems to be in the play so far, about the heresy that precisely Sempronio calls upon. Isn't that a bit heresy, what you've just said? Because he's comparing her to the god of goddesses, and well, in a Christian paradigm, a medieval or late medieval Christian paradigm, this is heretic. And what struck me as well is Calisto in the beginning says, "Oh, I love this man, but I will not give myself to him, or I will not give sexually to him." But he really wants that, isn't it? Even though, of course, it's that courtly love, but he just really wants her.
You would like to have sex, yes.
Well,
I
sex,
think the list
love.
of body parts does kind of allude to that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to pause us there because we do need to move forward. So if you have any additional thoughts, hold on to them for later, because I'm sure it's going to get more problematic as we have enter Celestina, the board, who is going to sort everything out, of course. Enter Celestina.
Now the blessing that Our Lady gave her son, that same blessing I give now to you all. That I come thus homely, I pray you of pardon. I am sought and sent for as a woman universal. Celestina of truth my name is to call. Sempronio for me about doth inquire, and it was told me I should have found him here. I am sure he will come hither anon. But the whilst I shall tell you a pretty game. I have a wench of Sempronio's, a pretty one, that sojourneth with me. Elisea is her name. But the last day we were both nigh a stark shame, for Sempronio would have her to himself several. And she loveth one Crito better or as well. This Crito and Elisea sat drinking in my house, and I also making merry. And as the devil would, far from our thinking, Sempronio also came on us suddenly. But then wrought I my craft of bawdry. I bade Crito go up and make himself room to hide him in my chamber among the broom. Then made I Elisea sat down a sewing, and I with my rock began for to spin. As who saith of Sempronio we had no knowing, he knocked at the door, and I let him in, and for a countenance I did begin to catch him in mine arms, and I said, see, who kisseth me, Elisea, and will not kiss thee? Elisea for a countenance made her grieved, and would not speak, but still did so. Why speak you not, quoth Sempronio, be you moved? Have I not a cause, quoth she? No, quoth he, I trow. Ah, traitor, quoth she, full well thou dost thou know. Where hast thou been these 3 days from me, that the imposthumes and evil doth death take thee? Peace, mine Elisea, quoth he, why say ye thus? Alas, why put you yourself in this woe? The hot fire of love so burneth between us, that my heart is with yours wherever I go. And for 3 days' absence to say to me so, in faith methinketh ye be to blame. But now, hark well, for here beginneth the game. Crito in my chamber above that was hidden, I think lay not easily, and began to rumble. Sempronio heard that, and asked who was within, above in the chamber, that did so tumble. Who, quoth she, a lover of mine? Mayhap ye stumble, quoth he, on the truth, as many one doth. So up, quoth she, and look whether it be sooth. Well, quoth he, I go. Nay, thought I, not so. I said, come, Sempronio, let this fool alone. For thy long absence she is in such woe, and half beside herself, and her wit nigh gone. Well, quoth he, above yet there is one. Wilt thou know, quoth I? Yea, quoth he, I thee require. It is a wench, quoth I, sent me by a friar. What friar? Quoth he. Wilt thou needs know? Quoth I. Then it is the friar. Oh, quoth he, what a load have that woman to bear him. Yea, quoth he, the woman per case bear heavy full oft, yet thy gown in no place. Then he laughed. Yea, quoth I, no more words of this for this time. Too long we spend here amiss.
And at the end of this tale, enter Sempronio.
Mother Celestine, I pray God prosper thee.
My son Sempronio, I'm glad of our meeting, and as I hear say, ye about go to seek me.
Of truth, to seek you was mine hither coming. Mother, lay apart now all other thing, and alonely tend to me, and imagine in that I purpose now to begin. Calisto, in the love of fair Melebea, burneth, wherefore of thee he hath great need.
As sayest well, knowest not me, Celestina. I have the end of the matter, and for more speed thou shalt wade no further. For in this deed I am as glad as ever was the surgeon for salves for broke heads to make provision. And so intend I to do to Callisto, to give him hope and assure him remedy. For long hopes of the heart much trouble will do, wherefore to the effect thereof I will hie.
Peace, for methinketh Callisto is nigh.
Indeed, there enter Calisto and Parmeno.
Parmeno,
What say ye?
what is who is here? Sempronio, that reviveth my cheer.
It is Sempronio, with that old bearded whore. Be ye they, my master is so sore for doth long.
Peace, I say, Parmeno, or go out of the door. Comest thou to hinder me, then dost thou me wrong. I pray thee, help for to make me more strong, to win this woman, else gods forbode she hath equal power of my life under God.
Wherefore to her do ye make such sorrow? Think ye in her arse there is any shame? The contrary who telleth you be never his borrow. For as much as she glorifieth her in her name, to be called an old whore as ye would of fame, dogs in the street and children at every door bark and cry out, there goes an old whore.
How knowest all this? Dost thou know her?
Yea, that I do time long agone, for a false whore, the devil overthrower. My mother, when she died, gave me to her alone, and a starker bawd there was never none. For that I know, I dare well say, let's see the contrary who can lay. I have been at her house, and seen her trinkets for painting, things innumerable, squalms and balms. I wonder where she gets the things that she hath with folks for to fable, and to all bawdry ever agreeable. Yet worse than that, which will never be left, not only a bawd, but a witch by her craft.
Say what thou wilt, son, spare not me.
I pray thee, Parmeno, leave thy malicious envy.
Hark hither, Sempronio, here is but we three. In that I have said, canst thou deny?
Come hence, Parmeno. I love not this, and, good mother, grieve you not, I you pray. My mind I shall show now, hark what I say. O notable woman, O ancient virtue, O glorious hope of my desired intent, the end of my delectable hope to renew my regeneration, to this life present, resurrection from death so excellent. Thou art above all other. I desire humbly to kiss thy hands, wherein lieth my remedy. But mine unworthiness maketh resistance. Yet worship I the ground that thou goest on, beseeching thee, good woman, with most reverence, on my pain with thy pity to look upon. Without thy comfort my life is gone. To revive my dead spirits, thou mayst prefer me, with the words of thy mouth to make or mar me.
Oh, Sempronio, can I live with these bones that thy master giveth here for me to eat? Words are but wind. Therefore at once bid him to close his mouth and to his purse get. For money maketh the merchant that must bet. I have heard his words, but where be his deeds? For without money, with me nothing speeds.
What saith she, Sempronio? Alas, my heart bleeds. That I with you, good woman, mistrust should be.
Sir, she thinketh that money all thing feeds.
Then come on, Sempronio, I pray thee with me, and tarry here, mother, a while I pray thee. For where of mistrust ye have me appealed, have here my cloak, till your doubts be assailed.
Now ye do well, for weeds among corn, nor suspicions with friends, did never well. For faithfulness of words turned to a scorn maketh minds doubtful. Good reason doth tell.
Come on, Sempronio, thou givest me good counsel.
Go ye before, and I shall wait you upon. Farewell, mother. We will come again, anon.
Exit Callisto and Sempronio.
How say ye, my lords? See ye not this smoke in my master's eyes that they do cast? The one hath his chain, the other his cloak, and I am sure they will have all at the last. And sample may be by this that is past, how servants be deceitful in their master's folly, Nothing but for lucre is all their bawdry.
It pleaseth me, Parmeno, that we together may speak, whereby thou mayst see I love thee, yet undeserved now thou comest hither, whereof I care not, but virtue warneth me to flee temptation and follow charity, to do good against ill, and so I read thee, Sempronio, and I will help thy necessities. And in token now that it shall be so be, I pray thee among us let us have a song. For where harmony is, there is amity.
What? An old woman, sing!
Why not among? I pray thee no longer the time prolong.
Go to when thou wilt, I am ready.
Shall I begin?
Yea, but take not too high.
And singing occurs.
La 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 la. Oh, you know, this little young fool. The third part, Sempronio, we must get. After that, thy master shall come to school to sing the fourth part, that his purse shall sweat. For I see craftily the song can set. Though the master be hoarse, his purse shall sing clear. And taught to solve that woman's flesh is dear. How sayest thou to this, praties Parmeno? Thou knowest not the world, nor no delights therein. Dost understand me? In faith I trow no, thou art young enough the game to begin. Thy master hath waded himself so far in, and to bring him out lieth not in me. Old, poor.
Thou shouldst say it lieth not in me, old whore.
Oh, whoreson. Ashamed take such a knave. How darest thou with me, thou boy, be so bold?
Because such knowledge of thee I have.
Why, who art?
Parmeno, son to Albert the Old. I dwelt with thee by the river where wine was sold, and thy mother, I trow, hight Claudina. Then art thou a wildfire bred thee, Celestina.
But thy mother was as old a whore as I. Come hither, so fool. Let me see thee. Ah, it is even he, by our blessed lady. What, little urchin, hast thou forgotten me? When thou layest at my bed's feet, how merry were we?
Ah, thou old matron, it were alms thou were dead. How wouldst thou pluck me up to thy bed's head, and embrace me hard unto thy belly? And for thou smelledst oldly, I ran from thee.
A shameful whoreson. Fie upon thee, fie, fie. Come hither. Now shortly I charge thee, but all this foolish speaking thou let be. Leave wantonness of youth, shalt thou do well. Follow thy doctrines of thy elders and council, to whom thy parents, on whose gold souls have mercy, in pain of cursing bade thee be obedient. In pain whereof I command thee straitly, too much in mastership put not thine intent. No trust is in them if thine own be spent. Masters nowadays covet to bring about all for themselves, and let their servants go without. Thy master, men say, and as I think he be, but light care eke not, who came to his service. Fair words shall not lack, but small rewards, trust me. Make Sempronio thy friend in any wise, for he can handle him in the best guise. Keep this, and for thy profit tell it to none, but look that Sempronio and thou be one.
Mother Celestine, I wot not what ye mean. Calisto is my master, and so I will take him. And as for riches, I defy it clean. For whosoever with wrong rich doth make him, sooner than he get it, it will forsake him. I love to live in joyful poverty, and to serve my master with truth and honesty.
Truth and honesty be riches in a name, but surety of wealth is to have riches. And after that, for to get him good fame. By reports of friends, this is truth, doubtless. Then no such man of friend can I express as Sempronio for both your profits to speed, which lieth in my hands now, if ye be agreed. Oh, Parmeno, what a life may we endure. Sempronio loveth the daughter of Eliso.
And who? Arusa?
Likest her?
Peradventure.
I shall get her to thee, that shall I do.
Nay, Mother Celestine, I purpose not so. A man should be conversant, I hear tell, with them that be ill, and think to do well. Sempronio his ensample shall not make me better nor worse, nor his faults will I hide. But Mother Celestine, a question to thee, is not sin anon in one espied? That is drowned in delight, how should he provide against virtue to save his honesty?
Like a child without wisdom, thou answerest me. Without company, birth can have none estate. Use no sloth. Nature abhorreth idleness, which lesseth delight to nature appropriate. In sensual causes delight is chief mistress, specially recounting love's business. To say, thus doth she the time that as they pass, and such manner they use, and thus they kiss and pass, and thus they meet and embrace together. What speech, what grace, what place is between them? Where is she? There she goeth. Let us see whither. Now please, now forward, now mum, now hem, strike up minstrel with swords of love, the old problem, sing sweet songs, now joists and tournay, of new inventions, what conceit find they? Now she goeth to mass, tomorrow she cometh out. Behold her better. Yonder goeth the cuckold. I left her alone, she cometh, turn about. Lo, thus, Parmeno, thou mayest behold, friends will talk together as I have told. Whereof perceive thou that I say truly, never can be delight without company.
And yes, so Parmeno now retires and enter Calisto and Sempronio, presumably as well.
Mother, as I promised to assoil thy doubt here, I give thee 100 pieces of gold.
Sir, I promise you I shall bring it about, often to purpose even as you would. For your reward, I will do as I should. Be merry, fear nothing, content you shall be.
Then, mother, farewell. Be diligent, I pray thee.
And exit Celestine.
How sayest, Sempronio? Have I done well?
Yea, sir, in my mind, and most according.
Then wilt thou do after my counsel? After this old woman will thou be hieing, to remember and haste her in everything.
Sir, I am content, as ye command me.
Then go, and bid Parmeno come, I pray thee.
Exit Sempronio.
Now God be their guides, the posts of my life, my relief from death, the ambassadors of my wealth, my hope, my hap, my quietness, my strife, my joy, my sorrow, my sickness, my health, the hope of this old woman. My heart telleth that comfort shall come shortly, as I intend, or else come death, and make of me an end.
And Parmeno re-enters.
In faith it maketh no force nor matter much.
What saith that, Parmeno? What sayest to me?
Marry, I say plainly that yonder old witch and Sempronio together will undo thee.
Ah, ill-tongued wretch. Will ye not see? Thinkest thou, Lurden, thou handest me fair? Why, knave, wouldst thou put me in despair?
And exit Calisto.
Lo, sirs, my master, ye see, is angry. But this it is, tell fools for their profit, or warn them for their wealth, it is but folly. For strike them on the heel, and as much wit shall come forth at their forehead to perceive it. Go thy way, Calisto, for on my charge thy thrift is sealed up, though thou be at large. Oh, how unhappy I am to be true! For other men win by falsehood and flattery, I lose for my truth, and the world doth so ensue, truth is put back and taken for folly. Therefore, now will I change my copy. If I had done as Celestine bade me, Calisto to his mission still would have had me. This giveth me warning from henceforward how to deal with him for all thing as he will. I will be the same forward or backward. I will go straight to him and follow him still, say as he saith, be it good or ill. And sith these bawds get good provoking lechery, I trust flattery shall speed as well as bawdry.
And at this point, exit Parmeno, and we'll pause. We're a little under 2/3 of the way through. And in a sense, not a lot happened in that third, and quite a lot happened in that third. There was a long story told by Celestina, of which I may expand upon more at another time. And then there's this sort of bartering organization side of things of how she's going to do what Callisto wants. But I just want to just ask the question, really, which is much more important, I think, in my mind. What the hell is the relationship between Parmeno and Celestina? I was getting seriously creeped out midway through that.
I was. And I'm sorry, I did introduce a slap at one point for him because it just...
Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do it quite so physically.
Damn it.
I initially thought, I took it literally, that it's mother's son. But then actually I think, is he like I don't know, the boy in the boarding house who pops out and cleans up and gets the linen off the beds if there is any?
They're not related. I think that's fine. That's just a term of address. You know, she's Mother Celestina.
Yes, Sempronio calls her mother as well.
Yeah. So
I think she has a hold over him, definitely.
Well, I think his father died and she took him in, I think. Or his father abandoned him and she took him in. And then she tried to get him to sleep in the same bed with her, which may have been perfectly innocent and non-sexual, but on the other hand, this is a bawd we're talking about here.
It feels so wrong.
And in any case, Parmeno thought it was pretty gross, so he ran away.
Yeah, I think it's a bit, they missed, well, I say we probably missed a structural trick as well. It's such a shame it's the other way around that you see Celestina and then you hear the description. With a very different type of play, the big build-up of how she is going to be, if it was like a pantomime, and then she appeareth, would have such a different effect on the way you would portray it. So I kind of upset that it's structured that way, because it'd be lovely to have this image of this person built up and then debunked or completely fulfilled.
Alex, you've not. I don't think, have we reached you yet, or have we passed you? Okay, we did briefly. Alex, as a viewer primarily, where are you?
It's interesting because I didn't know anything about this play, and I sort of read a bit about it online, and I hadn't realised it's based on this Spanish work that is apparently sort of up there with Don Quixote as far as sort of famous works in Spanish go. That she's, again, it almost seems like the vice character, that the sort of Celestina character gets all the best lines, basically, you know, whether it's sort of creepy or unpleasant or what have you. It's the showboaty role in it, even though it's called Calisto and Melebea. It's one of those plays that sort of seems to have very little to do with them so far. That's sort of an adjunct to the rest here. I couldn't figure out the dynamics.
Oh, he's got a copy.
Oh, he's got a copy. He's demonstrating in front of us.
La Celestina.
Because apparently I don't know anything about Spanish drum, but it said in the thing that I read that like a Celestina is almost like you would say a panda in English from Pandarus, that it's sort of the equivalent. She almost became a byword for those.
And it's interesting because I'm getting on top of that all of the English equivalents as well, and I don't know whether they feed from the same root stories or not, and that's something that I'm really quite interested to go back to, because I've heard this story many times in many different ways from different bits of literature, some 200, 300 years earlier, and some another 30 years later in a different rewriting. So there's a real churn of storytelling going on here that I'm finding fascinating, and I might go into more detail at the end. Thoughts about this as a piece of entertainment? I mean, Celestina's entrance is very pantodamy. It has to be said. She does a bit of storytelling and comes in and does that.
I mean, again, sort of thinking about where you would put it if you were doing it now. And whenever I hear these read, they always sort of pull me towards a certain decade. And this sort of has a weird, like, sort of 1960s Carnaby Street feel to it. I could sort of see it playing very well within that, and it is very panto. I mean, I know in these plays people step out and talk to the audience all the time, and we've talked before about the way they interact. And I think Melebea is about to go into a bit where she sort of talks to the men in the audience. That again, it seems that sort of fits quite well with that. For me, yeah, I mean, I found it quite entertaining to listen to, if only because the characters are sort of larger than life, and I still find it funny every time Parmeno rhymes the thing with old whore, and the dog's barking old whore was I'm easily amused. It's like your piss in the other one, Liza.
Oh yeah, if you're going, if you're going to make a really unsubtle joke, put it on the rhyming word.
Absolutely,
yeah. Any additional new thoughts before we move forward? No, excellent. Okay, we now go into a reasonably lengthy exchange between Melebea and Celestina. So Melebea enters first, and we haven't seen you in a while, so it's nice to see you again.
I pray you, came this woman here never sin? In faith, to enter here I am half a drad, and yet why so? I may boldly come in. I am sure from you all I shall not be had. Oh, but Jesus, be these men so mad on women as they say? How should it be? It is but fables and lies, you may trust me.
And enter Celestina.
God be here.
Who is there?
Will ye by any threat?
Oh, yea, marry, good mother, I pray you come in.
Christ save you, fair mistress, and God be your speed, and health be to you and your kin. And Mary, God's mother, that blessed Virgin, preserve and prosper your womanly personage, and well to enjoy your youth and pucelage, for that time pleasures are most eschewed. And age is the hospital of all manner sickness, the resting place of all thought unrelieved, the sport of time past, the end of all quickness, neighbour to death, a dry stock without sweetness. Discomfort, disease, all age alloweth, a tree without sap, that small charge boweth.
I marvel, mother, you speak so much ill of age, that all folk desire effectuously.
They desire hurt for themselves, as all of will, and the cause why they desire to come thereby is for to live, for death is so loathly. He that is sorrowful would live to be sorrier, and he that is old would live to be older. Fair damsel, who can show all the hurts of age, his weariness, feebleness, his discontenting, his childishness, frowardness of his rage, wrinkling in the face, lack of sight and hearing, hollowness of mouth, full of teeth, faint of going, and worst of all, possessed with poverty, and the limbs arrested with debility.
Mother, ye have taken great pain for age. Would ye not return to the beginning?
Fools they are that are past their passage to begin again, which be at their ending. For better is possession than the desiring.
I desire to live longer. Do I well or no?
That ye desire well, I think not so. For as soon goeth to market the lambs fell as the sheep's. None so old but may ye live a year, and there is none so young but ye wot well may die in a day. And there are no advantages here between youth and age. The matter is clear.
With thy fabling and thy reasoning, Iwis, I am beguiled, but I have known thee ere this. Art not Celestine that dwelleth by the riverside?
Yea, forsooth.
Indeed, age hath arrayed thee. That thou art she now can scant be espied. Methink if by thy favour thou shouldst be she, Thou art sore changed, thou mayst believe me.
Fair maiden, keep thou well this time of youth, but beauty shall pass at the last. This is truth, yet I am not so old as ye judge me.
Good mother, I joy much of thine acquaintance, and thy motherly reasons right well please me. And now I thank thee here for thy pastance. Farewell, till another time that hap may chance, again that we two may meet together. Mayhap ye have business, I know not whither.
O angelic image, O heart so precious, O how thou speakest it rejoiceth me to hear. Knowest thou not by the divine mouth gracious that against the infernal fiend Lucifer we should not only live by bread here, but by our good works wherein I take some pain. If ye know not my mind now, all is in vain.
Show me, mother, hardily all thy necessity, and if I can, I shall provide the remedy.
My necessity? Nay, God, what it is not for me. As for mine, I left it at home, surely. To eat when I will, and drink when I am dry, and I thank God ever 1 penny hath been mine, to buy bread when I list, and to have 4 for wine. Before I was a widow, I cared never for it, for I had wine enough of mine own to sell, and with a toast in wine by the fire I could sit, with 2 dozen sops to the colic to quell. But now with me it is not so well, for I have nothing but that is brought me in a pitcher pot of quart scant 3. As I pray God help them that be needy, for I speak not for myself alone, but as well for other, however speed I. The infirmity is not mine that I groan, it is for another that I make moan, and not for myself. It is another way, but what I must moan when I dare not say.
Say what thou wilt, and for whom thou lest.
And now, gracious damsel, I thank you then, that to give audience ye be so pressed, with liberal readiness to me, old woman, which giveth thee boldness to show what I can of one that lieth in danger by sickness, remitting his languor to your gentleness.
What meanest thou, I pray thee, gentle mother? Go forth with thy demand as thou hast done. On the one part thou provokest me to anger, and on the other side to compassion. I know not how thy answer to fashion. The words which thou speakest in my presence be so misty, I perceive not thy sentence.
I said I left one in danger of sickness, drawing to death for aught that I can see. Now choose you, or know to be murderous, or revive him with a word to come from thee.
I am happy, if my word be of such necessity, to help any Christian man, or else God's forbid. To do a good deed is liking to God, for good deeds to good men be allowable, and specially to needy above all other. And ever to good deeds ye shall find me agreeable, trusting ye will exhort me to none other. Therefore fear not. Speak your petition, good mother, for they that may heal sick folk and do refuse them, surely of their death they cannot excuse them.
Full well and graciously the case ye consider, for I never believed that God in vain would give you such countenance and beauty together, but charity therewith to relieve folk in pain. And as God hath given you, so give him again. For folks be not made for themselves only, for then they should live like beasts or rudely, among which beasts yet some be pitiful. The unicorn humbleth himself to a maid, and a dog in his all power ireful, let a man fall to ground, his anger is delayed. Thus by nature pity is conveyed. The cock, when he scrapeth and happeth meat to find, calleth for his hens. Lo, see the gentle kind. Should human creatures then be of cruelness? Should not they to their neighbours show charity, and especially to them wrapped in sickness, when they that may heal them cause the infirmity?
Mother, without delay, for God's sake, show me, I pray thee heartily, without more praying, where is the patient that so is paining?
Fair damsel, thou mayst well have a knowledge here too, that in this city is a young knight of clear lineage called Calisto, whose life and body is all in thee, I plight, The pelican, to show nature's right, feedeth his birds. Methinketh I should not preach thee. Thou wotest what I mean, as nature should teach thee.
Is this the intent of thy conclusion? Tell me no more of this matter, I charge thee. Is this the dolent for whom thou makest petition? Art thou come hither thus to deceive me? Thou bearded dame, shameless thou seemest to be. Is this he that hath the passion of foolishness? Thinkest thou, ribald, I am such an one of lewdness? It is not said, I see well in vain. The tongue of man and woman worst members be. Thou brute board, thou great enemy to honesty certain, cause of secret errors, Jesu, benedicite, some good body take this old thief from me, that thus would me deceive with her false sleight. Go, out of my sight now, get thee hence straight.
In an hour evil came I hither, I must say. I would I had my legs twain.
Go hence, thou brothel, go hence in the devil way. Bidest thou yet to increase my pain? Wilt thou make me of this fool to be fain? To give him life, to make him merry, and to myself death, to make me sorry? Wilt thou bear away profit for my perdition, and make me lease the house of my father, to win the house of such an old matron as thou art, shamefullest of all other? Thinkest thou that I understand not, thou false mother, thy hurtful message, thy false subtle ways? Make amends to God, thou livest 2 long days. Answer, thou traitress, how darest be so bold?
Fear of thee maketh me so dismayed that the blood of my body is almost cold. Alas, fair maiden, what hast thou said to me, poor widow? Why am I denied? In my conclusion, which is of honesty, without cause ye blame this gentleman and me.
I say I will hear no more of that fool. Was he not here with me even now? Oh, thou old witch, thou bringest me in great dole. Ask him what answer he had of me, and how I took his demand, and now know mayest thou, more showing is but lost where no mercy can be. Thus I answered him, and thus I answer thee.
The more strange she maketh, the gladder am I. There is no tempest that ever doth endure.
What sayest thou? What sayest thou, shameful enemy? Speak out.
So feared am I of your displeasure. Your anger is so great, I perceive it, sure, and your patience is in so great an heat that for woe and fear I both weep and sweat.
Little is the heat in comparison to say to the great boldness of thy demeaning.
Fair maiden, yet one word now, I pray. Please with patience and bear me, saying it is for a prayer, mistress, my demanding. That is said ye have of Saint Apolline, for the toothache whereof this man is in pain, and the girdle that thou wearest about thee, and as so many holy relics it hath touched, that this knight thinketh his boot thou mayst be. Therefore let thy pity now be avouched, for my heart, for fear like a dog is couched. The delight of violence whoso doth use, pity at their need shall them refuse.
If this be true that thou sayest to me now, mine heart is lightened, perceiving the case. I would be content well if I wist how to bring this sick knight unto some solace.
Fair damsel, to thee, fair damsel, to thee be health and grace. For if this knight and ye were acquainted both two, ye would not judge him the man that ye do. By God and by my soul, in him is no melancholy. He with grace endued in freedom as Alexander, in strength as Hector, in countenance merry, gracious envy in him reigned never, of noble blood as thou knowest, and if ye ever saw him armed, he seemeth a Saint George. Rather than to be made in nature's forge, an angel thou wouldst judge him, I make a vow. The gentle Narcissus was never so fair, that was enamoured on his own shadow. Wherefore, fair maid, let the pity repair, let mercy be thy mother, and thou her heir. This night whom I come for never ceaseth, but crieth out of pain that still increaseth.
How long time, I pray thee, hath it holden him?
Think he be 24 years of age? I saw him born and hope for to fold him.
I demand thee not thereof, thine answer assuage. I ask thee how long in this painful rage he hath lain.
Of truth, fair maiden, as he says, he hath been in this agony this 8 days, but he seemeth as he had lain this 7 year.
Oh, how it grieveth me the ill of my patient, knowing his agony and thy innocency here. Unto mine anger thou hast made resistance, wherefore thy demand I grant in recompense. Have here my girdle. The prayer is not ready. Tomorrow it shall be. Come again secretly. And, mother, of these words passed between us, show nothing thereof unto this knight, lest he would report me cruel and furious. I trust thee now be true, for thoughts be light.
Marvel greatly thou dost me so attrite of the doubt thou hast of the doubt thou hast of my secretness. As secret as thyself I shall be doubtless. And to Calisto with this girdle Celestina shall go, and his leady heart to make whole and light. For Gabriel to Our Lady with Ave Maria came never gladder than I shall to this night. Calisto, how wilt thou not sit upright? I have showed thy water to thy physician. Comfort thyself, the field is half won.
Mother, he is much beholden unto thee.
Fair maiden, for the mercy thou hast done to us this night, and I, both thy bedfolk shall be.
Mother, if need be, I will do more than thus.
It shall be needful to do so and righteous, for this thus begun must needs have an end, which never can be without ye condescend.
Well, mother, tomorrow is a new day. I shall perform that I have you promised. Show to this sick knight in all that I may. Bid him be bold, in all things honest, and though he to me as yet be but a guest, if my word or deed his health may support, I shall not fail, and thus bid him take comfort.
And exit Melebea.
Oh, now Christ comfort thee and keep thee in thy need. Now say you, now is not this matter carried clear? Cannot old Celestina her matter speed? A thing not well handled is not worth a bean. Now know ye by the half tale what the whole doth mean. These women at the first be angry and furious. Fair weather cometh after storms tempestuous. And now to Calisto I will me dress, which lieth now languishing in great pain, and show him that he is not remedioless. And bear him thus to make him glad and fain, and handle him so that he shall see plain that I am well worthy to bear the name for to be called a noble archdame.
And exit Celestina. At this point, enter Danio, who is the father to Melebea.
Oh, marvelous God, what a dream at high tonight. Most terrible vision to report and hear. I had never none such, nor none yetly white. Alas, when I think thereon, I quake for fear. It was of Melebea, my daughter dear. God send me good tidings of her shortly, for till I hear from her, I cannot be merry.
And enter Melebea.
Oh, dear father, nothing may me more displease, nothing may do me more annoyance, nothing may do me greater disease than to see you, father, in any perturbance, for me chiefly, or for any other chance. But for me, I pray you not be sad, for I have no cause but to be merry and glad.
Oh, sweet Melebea, my daughter dear, I am replete with joy and felicity, for that ye be now in my presence here, as I perceive in joy and prosperity. From death to life, methinketh it revived me, for the fearful dream that I had lately.
What dream, sir, was that? I pray you heartily.
Doubtless, methought that I was walking in a fair orchard, where were places too. The one was a hot bath, wholesome and pleasing to all people that did repair thereto, to wash them and clean them from sickness also. The other a pit of foul stinking water. Shortly they died, and all that therein did enter, and unto this wholesome bath methought that ye in the right path were coming apace. But before that, methought that I did see a foul, rough bitch, prick-eared cur it was, which striking her body along on the grass, and with her tail licked her so that she made herself a fair spaniel to be. This bitch then, methought, met you in the way, leaping and fawning upon you apace, and round about you did run and play, which made you then disport and solace, which liked you so well, that in short space, the way to the hot bath at noon, you left it, and took the straight way to the fall pit, and ever you looked continually upon that same beach, and so much her-eyed, that ye came to the fall pit brink suddenly, like to have fallen in, and to have been destroyed, which when I saw, anon that I cried, starting in my sleep, and therewith did I wake, that yet for fear me think my body doth quake. Was not this a fearful dream and marvelous? I pray you, daughter, what think you now to this?
And Melebea does not speak for a little while, dramatic pause, but shall stare with a sorrowful face.
Why speak you not? Why be you now so studious? Is there anything that hath chanced you amiss? I am your father. Tell me what it is.
Alas, now your dream, which ye have expressed, hath made me all pensive and sore abashed.
I pray you, dear daughter, now tell me why.
Sir, I know the cause of your vision, and what your dreadful dream doth signify.
Thereof would I fain now have knowledge.
Alas, dear father, alas, what have I done? Offended God as a wretch unworthy.
Wherein, despair not, God is full of mercy.
Then on my knees.
Do some genuflection, please, and I guess on your knees.
I'll disappear from view if I do that. I'm Jewish, we don't genuflect anyway. Then on my knees now I fall down, and of God chiefly asking forgiveness, and next of you, for into oblivion I have put your doctrine and lessons doubtless.
Fear not, daughter, I am not merciless. I trust ye have not so greatly offended, but that right well it may be amended.
Ye have fostered me up full lovingly in virtuous discipline, which is the right path to all grace and virtue, which doth signify by your dream the fair, pleasant, wholesome bath. The foul pit whereof ye dreamed, which hath destroyed so many, betokeneth vice and sin, in which, alas, I had almost fallen in. The prick-eared cur and the foul bitch, which made herself so smooth and fair to see, betokeneth an old queen, a bawdy witch called Celestina, that woe might she be, which with her fair words I so persuaded me that she had almost brought me hereunto to fulfill the foul lust of Calisto.
Alas, dear daughter, I taught you a lesson, which way you should attain unto virtue. That was every morning to say an orison, praying God for grace, all vice to eschew.
O dear father, that lesson I have kept true, which preserved me, for though I did consent in mind, yet he had never his intent.
The virtue of that prayer, I see well one thing, hath preserved you from the shame of that sin, but because you were somewhat consenting, you have offended God greatly therein. Wherefore, daughter, ye must now begin humbly to beseech God of his mercy, for to forgive you your sin and misery.
O blessed Lord and Father Celestial, whose infinite mercy no tongue can express, though I be a sinner, wretch of wretches all, yet of thy great mercy grant me forgiveness. Full sore I repent, my sin I confess, intending henceforth never to offend more. Now humbly I beseech thy mercy therefore.
Now that is well said, mine own fair daughter. Stand up. Therefore, For I know verily that God is good and merciful ever to all sinners which will ask mercy and be repented in will clearly to sin no more. He of his great goodness will grant them therefore his grace and forgiveness. Lo, here ye may see that a thing it is to bring up young people virtuously in good custom, for grace doth never miss to them that use good prayers daily, which have preserved this maid undoubtedly, and kept her from actual deed of shame, brought her to grace, preserved her good name. Wherefore, ye virgins and fair maidens all, unto this example now take good heed, serve God daily. The sooner ye shall to honesty and goodness no doubt proceed, and God shall send you ever his grace at need to withstand all evil temptations that shall come to you by any occasions. And ye, fathers, mothers, and other, which be rulers of young folks, your charge is doubtless to bring them up virtuously, and to see them occupied still in some good business, not in idle pastime or untruthfulness, but to teach them some art, craft, or learning, whereby to be able to get their living, have done great harm because of their negligence, not putting them to learning nor occupations. So, when they have no craft nor science, and come to man's state, ye see the experience that many of them compelled be to beg or steal by very necessity. But if there be therefore any remedy, the heads and rulers must first be diligent to make good laws and execute them straightly upon such masters that be negligent. Alas, we make no laws but punishment when men have offended, but laws evermore would be made to prevent the cause before. If the cause of the mischiefs were seen before, which by conjecture to fall be most likely, and good laws and ordinance made, therefore, to put away the cause, and that were best remedy. What is the cause that there be so many thefts and robberies? It is because man be driven thereto by need and property. And what is the very cause of that need? Because they labor not for their living. And truth is, they cannot well labor indeed, because in youth of their idle upbringing. But this thing shall never come to reforming. But the world continually shall be not, as long as young people be evil upbrought. Wherefore the eternal God that reign on high send his merciful grace and influence to all governors, that they circumspectly may rule their inferiors by such prudence to bring them to virtue and due obedience, and that they and we all, by his great mercy, may be partners of his blessed glory. Amen.
Amen. And there we reach the end, and there comes a point in that speech quite early on where it clearly Danio just angles himself out to the audience, and just any pretense of talking to his daughter just completely fades away. Liza, I know you've got to go in a minute. Do you have any final thoughts before you nip out and I go to more general thoughts? You are muted and moving in a fascinating way.
Yeah, I do move in mysterious ways. Yes. I mean, this is giving me some serious Troilus and Cressida feels, of course. It's basically Sempronio and Celestina have divided the role of Pandarus among them. And the baths, of course, the scholars here know what the link between hot water and the sex trade at this time. Or Nuno, I don't know whether it was the same in Portugal, but certainly in England, the sex trade involved usually baths and with a side order of stewed fruit that was cooked in the steam.
I wasn't there at the moment, but
yes. So the foul hot bath that she's on her way to is possibly hell, but also literally a brothel.
It's an interesting question why they meet at all and how they're meeting and what Melebea is actually looking for at that opening, because it's that's quite an interesting exchange.
It is, and the Spanish play, Nuno, the Spanish play doesn't end here, does it? More stuff happens.
No, I have the book, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Yes, it's definitely the opening.
It's big.
It's big. It's big.
Apparently ends with
but I will.
throwing themselves off a tower or something. From what I read, it becomes ever more involved, and Melebea is won over to the dark side to the point where she starts enjoying it with Calisto. Apparently, from what
again,
I read.
like Cressida.
Yeah. It felt like a very abrupt end, having read that sort of synopsis earlier, that it sort of this suddenly kind of goes, oh, shove a moral on it and have done. Basically, we don't
Absolutely.
Sudden repentance, yeah.
You never find out what happened in this version. You don't find out what happened to Calisto or Sempronio.
Yeah.
They all just disappear, don't they? It felt like I didn't realise that there was a longer play actually, but for the whole of the last bit, I was just thinking, where did they go? How many actors do they need? Do they need 3, 4? How many people?
Presumably Calisto just gave Celestina all his money for the girdle and then was poor, and she went on and was rich.
Or I think Danio takes it and then sets up YMCA, because that's clearly what his closing statement's about.
Yes. Audience doing the gestures. Yeah. I love you and I must leave you.
Nice to see you again.
See you tomorrow for Satan.
Yes.
Yes. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.
I mean, I have thoughts about, in a sense, why it's so abrupt, but I'll hold off on them for a little while. It's really interesting because it seems like Melebea is sort of going there. Is it something to do with looking for someone to keep her young and beautiful? Was that just something that was said in passing that I've totally misrepresented? I desire to live longer. Do I well or no? I don't know if that's just a philosophical debate that they're having, because it moves in that way quite quickly. But it just felt like she'd turned up in this place of sin because there was some sort of service on offer that she could get out of it, and. But I genuinely don't know.
I mean, again, that feels that it would translate well if you were thinking about how to stage it in modern terms, or indeed, if you wanted to set it in the 60s, a sort of a front for something else, something that appears to be something that it's not, in the same way that Celestina is appearing to be something that she's not, whether that's a sort of beauty parlor or something that is a covert knocking shop or what have you, would sort of underpin that and give her a reason to be there.
How dare you?
And it's a shame also that Liza had to dip out, because of course I mentioned earlier maybe the question of misogyny was setting up something for later in the play, but in fact no, it really wasn't. It's just a continual running background throb in the tension of the play, and it's just there to be, seems to be just there to be a beating stick for Melebea at the end. Who
doesn't actually appear to have done. I mean, I feel I should fight her corner, having played her. She doesn't really seem to have that transgression to my eyes, albeit looking at it as sort of a 21st century woke male, it doesn't really appear to be much of a transgression. She's a nice philanthropic girl who wants to help people who are sick. It does come across as very misogynistic to me.
Yeah, it's
personally.
that promissory note of the girdle is the suggestion later on is that she's basically offered him one night in bed to relieve him of his terrible love, which is just a narrative that is just quite abhorrent, because it's all on, oh, you must help this poor man, you must help. And I'm just writing in the margin, just going, it's not her problem. It so isn't her problem that he's a bit horny and lovesick. 8 whole days he's been pining. 8 whole days.
That's the bit that really stuck out for me as well. It's insane. Yeah, he's in lust, obviously, but that I actually had to scroll back up. Did I hear that right? That was mad.
Yeah. And then you get this very authoritative. I mean, in a sense, the father is, there is a sense that yes, she's probably been saved from a fate worse than fate by fulfilling that promise by going to Calisto. But then the father really just lays everything on thick, and we get occasionally a perfectly decent message at the end there of, make sure you get a good education, get a job, and if you have a job, you won't steal.
It's plain and simple.
Yeah, it's not wholly wrong, but it's not really got anything to do with anything that just happened.
No, and it's very dull.
You have to hug a hoodie.
God, that's over 10 years ago,
Yeah, don't.
Terrifying. Yeah.
Other thoughts about the play overall, as well as that last sequence?
What little I have read of the Spanish one said that actually part of the point of it is it does take this language of courtly love, but sort of almost lampoon it, I guess, by having them have sex as their goal, as their shared goal. So they're kind of talking in all these tropes and using this rhetoric, but actually they're sort of subverting it, which doesn't, to me, doesn't really come across at all here, apart from maybe in some of the things that Calisto says. It certainly doesn't seem to come from Melebea's part, and that doesn't seem to be the point of what this play is trying to do.
It's only there in that opening exchange, isn't it, when he's declaring his love and she tells him to sod off, and a bit later on when he's talking to the servant, but
it doesn't seem to be particularly sustained in a way.
No, it's not a continuing thread.
Yeah, the way the critiques I've read of the Spanish thing, without actually having read it, suggest that that's what it does. But it also struck me as well, slightly facetiously, because someone had mentioned Panto and talking at the beginning about, some plays it doesn't matter whether you cast male, female, what you do with it. That actually, it is interesting hearing Celestina's lines spoken by a man, and what would actually happen if you had that played by a drag character, basically. What import that would give to those lines, and it's sort of, I guess if you kind of go, well, it was originally performed by all men, then it sort of slightly amplifies the misogyny of it as well, because you haven't even kind of got a sort of token female presence.
Celestina is called several times the beard whore, the beard, that old beard.
Yeah,
and it's kind of taking that female character to a male body, old male body. It's
yes, it could literally be an old man's beard, couldn't it?
Yes.
I mean, there's some other thoughts actually before I say so extemporize. Stephen, any thoughts about the piece overall? Thoughts, how you found it?
Not really. No, I'm just listening to everybody else. It's okay.
And then cut us all down at the end.
Yeah. I mean, talking about the we've got Greg Price. There's some talking about the shape and how it sort of just ends and just sort of stops. And I'm wondering here, because of the English side of this, where we've got earlier versions of very similar story. So this narrative of a young youth who wants to sleep with someone, she says no. He then goes to an older woman who then advises him in exchange for cash how to get the girl. So we have in the 13th century, we've got Dame Serif, and we've also got one of the earliest dramatic texts, Interludium de Clerico et Puella, which is exactly the same. It's just a fragment. And there's so many elements to this text that is ripped straight out of that. The way that there's a moment when every time Celestina comes in, she sort of professes to be very holy and "O benedicite" and all this thing, which is all there in those earlier earlier stories. There's just constant little references that jump in, and then at the end, in Dame Serif, you know, the man they get away with it, and the man sleeps with the young woman, and the trick is achieved via a dog, a weeping bitch. Mm-hmm. So when Danio is telling this story of in featuring a bitch, there's an element of my brain just going, well, this is a weird. Is this, and it? How much of that story is cross-continental, and how much of that is and how much of all these threads feeding into each other? And then in 25 years' time, Beware the Cat gets written, which then repurposes all of this material, but without a dog, they turn it to cats. And they solve the problem of misogyny by making the people doing all the sort of misogynistic, nasty stuff by making them evil. Of course, unfortunately, they make them evil by making them Catholic. So creating a different problem. They solve the misogyny by going for a very anti-Catholic feeling. So there's a sort of thread of story here that and I genuinely didn't know that this thread was in this, even though at some point in the distant part I have read it before. So I was fascinated by that, and I'm really interested to see what the etymology of this story is, if that makes sense. Where did it enter? I assume it's cross-continental. I assume it's all over Europe in different versions, French, English, and now Spanish. So that I found absolutely fascinating, and that creates the arc for this story. You know, the story ends with, you know, they either have sex or they don't have sex. You know, in this version they don't, and so that sort of makes sense as something an audience might recognise, perhaps. And thus ends my doctrine. Anyone wish to affirm or deny any of that, please go ahead.
No, but I've got 3 questions or 3 thoughts. When I came back in as Celestina, I did put the silly voice on thinking, was she in disguise? Really don't know if that was even remotely anywhere near right. So it's only because of the first lines and then that line later on where she says, but I know you're Celestina. Secondly, I half expected Celestina to kind of go, ha, 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 it's all been a lie when Melebea got off stage. Mm. But actually, she doesn't seem to. She actually seems to have almost changed around by the end of that scene, which was interesting. Also, going back to my first speech, who the heck was Meireles and Crighton?
Right. That whole thing, again, that story seems to be, again, something that looks familiar. I need to check this, but it looks like something that definitely gets reused in Beware the Cat as well, of someone being locked away in a cupboard when the husband comes home. So it seems like that's a storytelling thing that's been foisted in.
Only because I thought, was it Melebea and they'd spelt it wrong throughout the
No, they are different. They're different people.
They all appear in the Spanish version. They actually appear as characters. In their episode is kind of Alicia is one of Celestina's employees, who is given to Sempronio, and it sort of that all happens before before it starts to kick into the Melebea thing. So whether it almost feels like half of that has been shoehorned and glued onto some other framework for a play, essentially.
It sounds like a setup for a plot line that we don't get here. It does, because all the stuff to do with Celestina and Parmeno and their weird, disturbing relationship. But if that's connected with another relationship that he wants to have or is having, then that creates a whole interplay that seemed very interesting, but then didn't happen.
But it can be read as of common knowledge to the audience of the age. This could circulate transcontinentally, as you said. So she mentions that other characters, and people go, "Oh yeah, that's okay." But it apparently acts as some kind of intermezzo, as that story, that presentation Celestina does of herself seems like a kind of a stand-up sketch or act. Oh, hello. You know the story of the blah 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 blah. On my way here, I blah 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 blah. Now we'll get on with the plot.
Yeah, it felt very like that.
I would like you to ask you all, if staged all of this in our days, would you cut anything, or would you do it thoroughly?
I personally wouldn't, because it's not very long for starters. So I think if you start cutting, maybe the odd line in rehearsal if you find something doesn't work. Maybe the sum of the very final speech. But by that point, the audience can't walk out, really, because it's a waste of time. I don't feel that there's that much that I would myself. What do other people think?
I think my problem with it is just the unevenness. I'm actually curious now to see what the extended Spanish version is, because for 2/3 it's something that could be a really good farcical production. You could do something quite fun with it. I felt that just that final third just has destroyed any concept of staging it for me, because I don't know, what do? You just it's all a play. It's not. It's serious, kids. I find it difficult. I genuinely don't know how I would stage it because of that final third.
I agree with Simon. It kind of sort of felt like it was going somewhere that could be because I had this idea of the 60s that it could be going somewhere quite sort of dark, farcical with it. And I think in the original, from the details I can find, Calisto dies as he falls while climbing down a ladder after a sexual encounter with Melebea, which is both grotesque and hilarious. And I think it says somewhere about Celestina being offed by Sempronio and Parmeno and what have you, and there's all this kind of what you would now see as rich drama that you kind of then go, oh, and we've ended with this rather dry and dusty sermon about keep it in your pants and pray to God, which sort of deflates it slightly at the end for me as well, that you kind of go, it's going somewhere and now it's not.
In defense of Danio, I am going to say his dream story is fab. I think that's one of the better dream diaries we've had. It's a lot better than the prefiguration of the Antichrist in the Chester cycle, which really is seriously someone digs out their dream diary and it's just all total bollocks. But this, that works quite well. It does feel like a wrapping up and there's so much potential stuff. And considering the energy the opening half has, and it sort of just bleeds away, and that is a shame.
Yeah, it just dies a death, and it is a big shame.
Well, we always have Dame Serif. That's a very different story. Coming to the podcast sometime in the next few months when I finish editing it. There's a reason why I mention these things. It's not just because they're relevant, but it's also because I want you to listen. Final thoughts then, as we're well into extra time. Anyone want to dive in with any final roundup of Calisto and Melebea?
I think only what I've said before that I sort of agree. There's this huge energy at the beginning, and actually these very quite well drawn characters, and even the offstage characters that you hear about. That sort of there's a lot of promise in it. But then, for me as a sort of 21st century audience, I kind of want more than that wrapping up, and I don't know whether you could make a virtue of that if you staged it in kind of having this as an original first half, maybe, and then asking a modern dramatist to complete where they might think it would go, drawing from the Spanish one.
It should be like Clue.
The
film Clue.
Yes. Choose your own
adventure
could end like
this.
At the end. Yeah, does she stay on the straight and narrow, or does she give her girdle away?
Vote now to fall off a ladder.
Well, I wonder if actually Alex, you kind of hit on something really interesting. I just wonder if perhaps while he's doing this lovely summing up at the end, perhaps all of the stuff with the ladder and everything is happening as a tableau in the background.
It'd be brilliant. That very pantomime as well.
She gets so bored of his sermon that she goes off and has sex, and it all goes horribly wrong.
Perfect. We've solved it, guys.
Okay, on that bombshell, then I'm going to go into housekeeping and close the session. I'd like to thank all the readers for the work this evening and bringing to life Calisto and Melebea for the future and future ladder action. And that's, however, it from us. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.